Good evening, and thank you so much for coming for the opening night of what we really hope it will become an annual tradition, a festival of preservation. I think that preservation is embedded in the history of this particular cinema. Jerry Mallow kept it stubbornly an art house for 40 years, and then it burned down, and then it was rescued from the ashes, literally, and it became an enhanced version of what it was, with a more ambitious programming and more theaters it made total sense to me to think of something to celebrate preservation and the preservation of cinema, the restoration of films, and the culture of cinema itself. And there wouldn't be a movement for film preservation without Martin Scorsese and his Film Foundation. And I am really thrilled and honored to have here with us tonight the head of the Film Foundation, Margaret Bodde, and she will introduce the film. And I want to thank her so much for the support for this initiative. And this is Margaret Bodde.
Thank you so much, Julia. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be at the first Festival of Preservation at the Sag Harbor Cinema, which I have never been here before. It's stunning and gorgeous, and if anyone has any real estate tips, just let me know. It's beautiful out here. This film, I'm particularly excited to be here to present The Red Shoes because this film is beloved by so many. And most notably, possibly Martin Scorsese, who's also the founder and chair of the Film Foundation. When the UCLA Film and Television Archive and the Film Foundation undertook this restoration, it was the first ever fully digital restoration that either institution had ever been involved in. And for that reason, it was quite a learning curve for everyone involved, and I think you'll see the results were well worth it. In the 30 years that I've worked with Marty at the Film Foundation, this stands out as, of all the projects, there's so many highlights, but this is certainly one of them. Just out of curiosity, I just wanted to see how many people know this film and have seen it. Oh, great. So, well then, I have a spoiler that I'm not even going to worry about now. So The Red Shoes was directed by the incredible team of Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. It's really rare to have, directors are kind of notoriously and celebrated for their visions, and it's kind of rare and unusual to have, a shared directing credit. But the Archers, as they were known, made 14 features. And what kind of strikes me is, that The Red Shoes comes along in a 5-year period where they released a film every year, starting with A Canterbury Tale in 1944 and A Matter of Life and Death. I Know Where I'm Going in 1945, A Matter of Life and Death in 1946, Black Narcissus in 1947, and then The Red Shoes in 1948. So you just think about the staggering explosion of creative genius that represents, and that just gives you a clue to the Archers. The Red Shoes is really among, I think, one of the great dance films ever made. It's the story, as you know, of Vicky Page and an aspiring ballerina who's discovered by the impresario Boris Lermontov, who's played by the magnificent Anton Walbrook. And there's a scene, as you know, where, Lermontov meets Vicky for the first time, and he says, very pointedly, "Why do you want to dance?" And she just responds immediately and says, "Why do you want to live?" And that's, in a way, kind of the film in a nutshell. It's kind of this mad, crazy, based on the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale story of creative obsession and of an artist's commitment to their craft and at any cost, So, the film, I think, stands in this kind of moment in history where, it's the end of World War II, and it's this kind of very intense moment in time. And there's a quote from Michael Powell's memoir, A Life in Movies, where he said, We'd all been told for 10 years to go out and die for freedom and democracy, and now the war was over. The Red Shoes told us now to go out and die for art. So kind of tells you who Michael Powell was. So there's so many aspects about the film that make it, the kind of beloved classic that it is. But I think, interestingly, the choice that Powell and Pressburger made to cast, a professional dancer, they did not want to hire an actress and use close-ups and medium shots. They wanted that wide shot to show the dance. And so they found Maura Shearer, and, it's really astonishing to think that she had never acted before. So, what could have been a very risky decision turned out to be, really one of the most, striking things about the film. And then the other thing that's quite bold about the film is just, most films don't interrupt the dramatic story for 20 minutes with a dance sequence that's, kind of surreal, and there's no dialogue. And so, again, the boldness and, just the kind of creative impulse that then ended up going on to, really influence a lot of other directors like Gene Kelly on his American in Paris in 1951. So to talk a little bit about the restoration. So, like I said, it was done in partnership with the UCLA Film and Television Archive and the legendary archivist, restoration expert Robert Gitt at UCLA, who restored so many films at UCLA over several decades. The BFI, ITV, and Janus Films, and their extraordinary producer, Karen Stetler. And of course, Marty Scorsese and Thelma Schoonmaker provided guidance every step of the way. The thing about preservation and the thing about, wonderful cinemas like the Sag Harbor Cinema is that, they exist through generosity of people who support the arts and who want to create these kind of art experiences and community. So, no preservation or restoration project would be possible without funding. And in this case, we got funding from the Hollywood Foreign Press Association and the Louis B. Mayer Foundation, and we're incredibly grateful for their support. So the Red Shoes was photographed in the 3-strip Technicolor process. And the camera that you had to use to utilize this process was so huge that Michael Powell would refer to it as the Enchanted Cottage. And 3-strip Technicolor's, kind of a beautiful color process that doesn't exist anymore. And I don't think there's anyone better to talk a little bit about what's involved in 3-strip Technicolor than Martin Scorsese. And he taped this wonderful, brief, 3-minute or so commentary on the restoration of the Red Shoes and the 3-strip Technicolor process. And we're going to roll that clip, and then we're going to go right into the Red Shoes, which I truly hope you'll enjoy again or for the first time. Thank you so much.